they would breed her and she just wouldn't get pregnant, wouldn't get pregnant, wouldn't get pregnant. I think they did 3 years of that where she just never got pregnant. So they decided to flush her, and they flushed her and they got an embryo out of her. So she's sort of been embryo donor ever since. This mare is actually our embryo donor for today. So we're checking her to make sure that her uterus is fine before we take her to the breeding shed. Culture, all of my embryo donor. A Searing Song. The reason why she is now an embryo donor mare is that she's had 2 dystocias, which just means like a difficult birth. It's the foals come out in an abnormal position, and so therefore we thought we would just let her be flushed so she doesn't have to deal with that. We don't have to run the risk of having dead foals at the end of the dystocia. We flushed D-Train last Wednesday and got an embryo, and then I put upon the recipient mare, and so right now she's just on supplemental progesterone, and I'll check her Wednesday for pregnancy, and that'll be 14 days pregnancy if she kept the embryo. 81 and 296, they can go to the paddock for the day and then back in their stalls by 4 because they're breeds. I have some reproductive work to do, some mares to culture and suture and things like that, and then I'll do the embryo transfer this afternoon.
You've been going since how long?
I started at 6:45 this morning.
And you'll be done by?
Oh, good question. Maybe between 6 and 7 tonight. Because the mare's not in heat right now, and so we want to have a really clean environment because I'm going to put some fluid into her uterus, and because she's not in heat, her cervix is closed. And so I want it to be as clean as possible so I don't introduce a infection into her if I drag something that's dirty into her uterus with me. The recipient mare is the foaling mare. She's got a foal on her side, and so we let them stay back at the barn with their babies until I know that I've gotten an embryo. And if I get an embryo out of her, then we'll send the trailer and go pick her up. That way she doesn't have to be away from her baby any longer than need be. Oh, watching a foal being born, I think, is amazing. It's a miracle every time, and to be part of that is incredible. It's truly my passion. I think my life would be very sad if I didn't have horses in it. So now I've opened the clamp, and so I'm going to run flesh medium into her uterus. I'll do 2 liters in, then I'll run it out into this graduated cylinder. And then I'll run a liter in and out, and then another liter in and out. Filter on the bottom of it, so if there's an embryo, it will get caught in the cup and not go through. So I'm going to take this into the lab and search under the microscope for the baby. So what I'm doing is just dumping the fluid into a petri dish so that I can search. And then I'm rinsing off the filter in case the embryo is stuck on the filter. What I do first is I swirl the plate because the embryo is heavy, and so hopefully it'll bring all the debris plus the embryo to the center of the plate. Just makes it easier to start searching. On first initial glance, it doesn't look that promising. Second flush we kind of call the Hail Mary, but we get embryos every once in a while on them, so we always will do a second flush. Oh, nice. That one. So right now the embryo's in the tip of the straw. Mare's out, the recipient mare's out, and I palpate their uterus prior to putting the embryo in them. So I have a feel of where their uterus is, because once I pass the kazoo gun through their cervix and into their uterus, I come out of their vagina and go per rectum and pick up the uterus so I can feel where the gun is when I deliver the embryo. So the embryo is in here, which is called a kazoo gun. It's in the straw, and then it's put into the overlay, and then the kazoo gun's over it. And then I'm going to put this pipette through a small hole here, and it will actually push the embryo into the uterus once I have it in there. So what I've done is I've picked up her uterus in my right hand, and I'm slowly placing the embryo into the uterus by pulling back ever so slightly on the kazoo gun as I'm advancing the pipette forward, as if I'm almost laying the embryo down into the bed of the uterine horn. Okay. Embryo's been transferred.